What if I told you that millions of Brits are about to lose their homes? Sounds extreme, right? But it's already happening. Repossessions are soaring, and for many, keeping a roof over their head is becoming impossible. The UK is facing a housing crisis unlike anything we've seen before. And the worst part, most people don't even realise how bad it's about to get. Right now, mortgage rates are at their highest in decades. Rent prices are skyrocketing, and banks are making it harder than ever to borrow money. Landlords are selling up, foreign investors are buying out entire neighbourhoods, and wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living. If you think you're safe, think again, because no one is immune from what's coming next. Homeowners, renters, young professionals, and even middle-class families are all at risk. Thousands are already falling behind on their payments, and for many, it's only a matter of time before they're forced out, causing this disaster. And more importantly, is there a way to protect yourself before it's too late? In this video, we're breaking down the 10 biggest reasons why millions of Brits are about to lose their homes. And trust me, some of them will shock you. Stay until the end, because this isn't just a housing crisis, it's a ticking time bomb that could change the UK forever. Number 1. Rising interest rates are crippling homeowners. For years, homeowners in the UK enjoyed historically low mortgage rates, making it easier to buy and keep a home. But that era is over. Interest rates have surged, and millions of people are feeling the pressure. The Bank of England has raised interest rates multiple times to combat inflation, and the effects are devastating for anyone with a mortgage. Those on fixed rate deals are facing sharp increases when their term ends, while those on variable have already seen their monthly payments skyrocket. A homeowner who once paid £800 a month could now be paying £1,500 or more. Many people stretched their budgets to buy homes when rates were low, expecting the market to stay stable. Now, they're trapped in mortgages they can't afford. The situation is even worse for first-time buyers, who now face higher borrowing costs and stricter lending criteria. The dream of homeownership is slipping further away, leaving many unable to step onto the property ladder at all. As a result, repossessions are on the rise. Families who once felt secure in their homes are now receiving eviction notices. Those who can't keep up with their payments are being forced to sell, often at a loss. With wages not increasing at the same pace as mortgage costs, many households are stuck in a financial nightmare. This crisis isn't just affecting homeowners, it's impacting the entire housing market. As more people struggle to pay their mortgages, property values fluctuate and confidence in the market weakens. Unless interest rates stabilise or incomes rise significantly, the UK could see one of the worst housing downturns in recent history. For many, the fear isn't just losing their home, it's having no way to afford another. Number 2. Rent prices are out of control. For millions of renters in the UK, finding an affordable place to live has become nearly impossible. Over the past few years, rent prices have surged at an alarming rate, outpacing wage growth and pushing tenants to their financial limits. In many cities, rent has increased by more than 20% in just a year, leaving people with fewer options and higher living costs. The demand for rental properties but the supply simply isn't keeping up. With fewer homes available, landlords can charge premium prices, knowing desperate renters have little choice but to pay. This competition has created bidding wars for even the most basic flats, with tenants offering well above the asking price just to secure a place to live. Many renters are now spending over half their income on housing, leaving little room for savings or other essentials. In some cases, landlords are increasing rent multiple times a year, forcing tenants into financial distress. Those who can't afford the rising costs are being evicted or forced to move into overcrowded or substandard accommodations. For low-income families, the situation is even more severe. Housing benefits have not risen in line with rent making it harder for many to find suitable accommodation. With social housing waiting lists stretching for years, more people are at risk of homelessness than ever before. Unless the government introduces stronger rent controls or incentives for building more affordable homes, this crisis will only worsen. Renters across the country are being squeezed out of their homes, and without intervention, millions could find themselves unable to afford a place to live. The rental market has become a financial trap, leaving many wondering if they will ever find stability. Number 3. Banks are tightening their grip. For years, getting a mortgage was relatively straightforward, with banks offering competitive rates and flexible lending criteria. But now, financial institutions are becoming far more cautious, making it harder for both new buyers and existing homeowners to secure loans or refinance their properties, leaving many people trapped in unaffordable situations with no way out. One of the biggest issues is the stricter lending requirements. Banks are now demanding higher deposits, lower debt-to-income ratios, and stronger credit scores. Many people who could have qualified for a mortgage just a few years ago are now being rejected or offered deals with much higher interest rates. This is pushing potential buyers out of the market and keeping them stuck in expensive rental properties. For homeowners, the problem is just as severe. Those looking to refinance their mortgages are finding that banks are unwilling to offer the same competitive rates they once did. Some borrowers who locked in low rates are now discovering that they no longer meet the criteria for a new loan, leaving them exposed to rising costs when their fixed rate deals end. At the same time, banks are repossessing homes at a faster rate as struggling behind on payments. With fewer refinancing options available, many people have no choice but to sell their homes, often under financial pressure. This increase in forced sales is disrupting the housing market and driving even more instability. Unless financial institutions ease their lending restrictions or the government steps in with support, the housing market could become even more difficult to navigate. As banks tighten their grip, fewer people will be able to buy or keep their homes, further deepening the crisis and leaving millions uncertain about their future. Number 4. The UK economy is on shaky ground. The housing crisis isn't happening in isolation. It's a direct reflection of the broader economic challenges facing the UK, with inflation, stagnant wages, and job losses hitting households across the country. Financial stability is slipping away for millions of people. When the economy struggles, the ability to afford housing becomes even more difficult, leading to rising homelessness, forced evictions, and increased financial insecurity. One of the biggest concerns is the cost of living crisis. Inflation has driven up the prices of essentials like food, energy, and transportation, leaving households with less disposable income. Many people are now spending a significant portion of their earnings just to cover basic necessities, making it harder to keep up with rent or mortgage payments. Even those who were once financially comfortable are finding themselves stretched thin. At the same time, economic uncertainty is leading to widespread job losses. Companies in various sectors are cutting costs, reducing staff, and implementing hiring freezes. Lose their jobs, finding new employment can take months, and without a steady income, paying for housing becomes impossible. The fear of job insecurity is preventing many from making long-term commitments, such as buying a home or signing a lease. The housing market itself is also feeling the effects of economic instability. Falling consumer confidence means fewer people are willing to buy homes, leading to stagnation and, in some cases, price drops. But even as prices fluctuate, affordability remains a major issue. Without significant economic improvements, millions will continue to struggle to afford their homes. Until wages rise, inflation stabilizes, and job security improves, the UK's housing crisis will only deepen, leaving countless families over their heads. Number 5. A housing shortage that benefits no one. The UK has been facing a housing shortage for years, and the problem is only getting worse. With demand far outpacing supply, home prices and rents have soared, making it harder for people to find affordable places to live. The lack of available housing is driving millions into financial stress, forcing some to stay in overcrowded conditions or even move out of their communities entirely. One of the key reasons for this shortage is the failure to build enough new homes. Government targets for new housing developments are consistently missed, and many construction projects are delayed due to rising costs, supply chain issues, and labour shortages. Even when homes are built, they are often priced well beyond the reach of the average buyer, catering to high or investors rather than those who need them most. Planning restrictions and bureaucratic red tape also contribute to the crisis. Strict regulations make it difficult to get approval for new housing developments, particularly in areas where demand is highest. Local opposition to new builds, often due to concerns about infrastructure and environmental impact, further slows down the process, leaving thousands of potential homes stuck in limbo. This shortage is not just hurting buyers, it's also making the rental market worse. With fewer homes available, landlords can charge higher rents, knowing that tenants have limited options. The competition for available properties is fierce, leading to bidding wars and rent hikes that push people deeper into financial hardship. Unless there is a serious push to increase housing supply, the crisis will continue to spiral out of control. More affordable homes, millions will remain trapped in an unstable and unaffordable housing market with no clear way out. Number 6. Government policies that make things worse. While the UK housing crisis is driven by economic factors, government policies have played a major role in making the situation even more challenging. From tax increases to restrictive regulations, many of these policies have unintended consequences that are pushing people out of their homes and making affordability even worse. One of the biggest issues is the recent tax changes targeting landlords. Higher stamp duty rates and reductions in tax relief have made it more expensive for landlords to operate. As a result, many are either raising rents to cover their costs or selling their properties altogether. The number of rental homes available, driving prices even higher and leaving tenants with fewer options. Another controversial policy is the tightening of eviction laws. While stronger tenant protections are important, some landlords now feel that renting out properties is too risky. This has led to a surge in landlords exiting the market, further reducing rental supply. In areas where housing is already scarce, these policies have only added to the problem, making it harder for renters to find stable accommodation. Meanwhile, home ownership remains out of reach for many due to policies that fail to address affordability. Government housing schemes often focus on helping first-time buyers, but with rising interest rates and high deposit requirements, these schemes do little to address the root causes of the crisis. At the same time, make it difficult to build new homes quickly, limiting supply and keeping prices high. Without major policy changes, the housing crisis will continue to worsen. Instead of helping people secure stable housing, many current policies are unintentionally driving them further into financial instability, making it harder than ever to afford a place to live. Number 7. Foreign investors are buying up property. One of the biggest but least talked about factors in the UK housing crisis is the growing influence of foreign investors. In major cities like London, Manchester, and Birmingham, overseas buyers are purchasing large numbers of properties, driving up prices and reducing availability for local residents. This trend is making it even harder for first-time buyers and renters to secure affordable housing. Many of these investors see UK property as a safe and profitable place. Luxury apartments and new developments are often bought in bulk by foreign corporations or wealthy individuals, sometimes before they even hit the market. Instead of being occupied by families or young professionals, many of these properties remain empty or are turned into short-term rentals, further reducing the housing supply. The impact of this is felt most in high-demand areas where local wages cannot keep up with rising property values. Young professionals and families who once had a chance at home ownership are now finding themselves priced out of their own neighbourhoods. Even the rental market is affected, as investors buying up homes for short-term lettings, such as Airbnb, are reducing the number of long-term rental properties available. Government attempts to address this issue, such as higher stamp duty rates for overseas buyers, have had without stronger regulations, such as restrictions on foreign property ownership or policies to ensure homes are used for residential purposes, the problem will continue to grow. If this trend is not controlled, the UK risks becoming a country where ordinary people cannot afford to live in their own cities. The housing market should serve those who need homes, not just those looking for investment opportunities with no intention of ever living in them. Number 8. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. One of the biggest reasons so many people are struggling to afford housing is that wages have not kept pace with rising costs. Over the past decade, inflation has driven up the price of everything from food to energy bills, but salaries have remained relatively stagnant. This growing gap between income and expenses has made it increasingly difficult for people to pay rent. For many workers, even those with stable jobs, their real earnings have actually declined when adjusted for inflation. While some industries have seen pay increases, these raises are often wiped out by rising living costs. Essentials such as groceries, transport, and household bills are more expensive than ever, leaving many with little to no disposable income at the end of each month. The housing market has been particularly affected by this imbalance. Property prices have soared far beyond what most people can afford, meaning fewer individuals can save for a deposit. Even those who do manage to buy a home often find themselves struggling with mortgage repayments as interest rates climb. Renters are in an even worse position, with landlords raising prices due to their own increasing costs. Tenants are forced to spend a larger share of their income on rent, leaving them unable to save or invest in their future. This cycle traps people in financial insecurity, making home ownership for many. Unless wages rise in line with inflation or living costs decrease, the affordability crisis will only get worse. Without action, more people will find themselves unable to afford stable housing, leading to increased financial stress, higher eviction rates, and growing inequality in the housing market. The dream of owning or even renting a secure home is slipping further out of reach. Number 9. The energy crisis is draining people's finances. Soaring energy bills have become a major burden for households across the UK, making it even harder for people to afford their homes. Over the past few years, gas and electricity prices have surged, leaving families struggling to keep up with rising costs. For many, the choice is now between paying for heating or covering rent and mortgage payments. The energy crisis began with disruptions, worsened by geopolitical conflicts and reduced fuel reserves. This led to record-breaking price increases, with some households seeing their bills double or even triple within a year. Despite government efforts to introduce energy price caps and temporary support, many people are still paying far more than they can afford. For renters, high energy costs mean their overall housing expenses have become unsustainable. Many landlords are reluctant to improve insulation or install energy-efficient systems, leaving tenants in poorly heated homes with expensive bills. In some cases, Renters in shared housing arrangements are seeing unpredictable cost spikes, making budgeting even more difficult. Homeowners are also feeling the pressure. Those with mortgages are already dealing with higher interest rates, and now, rising utility bills are adding to their financial strain. Some families, who once had a now dipping into savings just to keep the lights on. This crisis is pushing more people into arrears and increasing the risk of eviction and repossession. If energy prices remain high, millions will continue struggling to make ends meet. Without long-term solutions like improved energy efficiency, alternative power sources, and better financial support, the housing crisis will only deepen. For many, the cost of simply keeping their home warm has become an unbearable financial burden. Number 10. Landlords are selling up and leaving the market. A growing number of landlords in the UK are selling their properties and leaving the rental market, creating an even bigger crisis for renters. Faced with rising costs, new tax burdens, and increasing regulations, many landlords are deciding properties is no longer worth the hassle. As a result, rental supply is shrinking, competition for available homes is intensifying, and tenants are paying the price. One major reason for this exodus is the government's tax policies. Higher stamp duty rates, reduced mortgage interest tax relief, and additional levies have made it more expensive for landlords to operate. Many small-scale landlords, who once relied on rental income for financial security, are now finding that their profits have been severely reduced. Rather than continue struggling, they are choosing to sell their properties, further limiting the number of homes available for renters. Stricter rental regulations are also playing a role. While tenant protections are important, some landlords feel that recent policy changes have made renting too complicated and risky. Longer eviction notice, rent caps in certain areas, and energy efficiency requirements mean that many landlords now see selling as a safer option than continuing to rent out their properties. The impact on tenants has been severe. With fewer rental homes on the market, demand has pushed prices to record highs. Many renters are being forced out of their homes as landlords sell up, and finding a new place has become increasingly difficult. Those who do manage to secure a property often face bidding wars, leaving them paying far more than they can afford. If this trend continues, the rental market will become even more unstable, pushing more people into financial distress and worsening the UK's growing housing crisis. The UK's housing crisis isn't coming. It's already here. Millions of people are struggling to afford their homes. The situation will only get worse. From rising interest rates and soaring rent prices to government policies and economic instability, every factor is pushing more people to the edge. If action isn't taken soon, the dream of homeownership and even stable renting could become impossible for an entire generation. But knowledge is power. Understanding these issues is the first step in protecting yourself and your future. Whether you're a homeowner, a renter, or someone trying to get onto the property ladder, staying informed can make all the difference. The question is, what can be done to fix this crisis before it spirals out of control? Now we want to hear from you. Have you or someone you know been affected by this housing crisis? What's happening in your area? Share your story in the comments. Your experience. We put a lot of effort into making these videos to keep you informed. If you found a second to hit that subscribe button, it's just one click, but it makes a huge difference. Stay tuned for more insights, and we'll see you in the next one.